Welcome back, everybody, to Nain Shorts. Thank you for joining me again. You guys are awesome. I love sharing my personal journey with you guys in not just the martial arts, because I know a lot of people, a lot of the friends that we've made. Martial arts isn't just something that we do; it's part of our lives, and it has really helped shape who we are as people. Um, Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely know that it has increased my awareness of me. And just to give you a little bit of a backdrop on this week's topic, a little over 8 years ago, well, actually more than that, almost 9 years ago, I was having a really bad time in my personal life, and I came to the conclusion that I needed to grow up. Um, I don't know how much growing up I've done since then, but I've definitely changed a lot of things in reference to myself and the way I think about myself. Because before I even started martial arts, I was just looking into how I can develop me and become a better version of myself. And in that process, I learned that your perception of yourself, of who you are, and even the words that you use to describe yourself have a great impact on how you're going to see everything that you do. And it matters, even down to the definitions of the words that you use to describe yourself. Because sometimes we use, or I know I do, I use words and I don't fully know the definition, or I kind of confuse the definition with other things. And since last week's episode, I started really pondering, how do you practice getting to know a person in front of you, or understanding a person in front of you? And in my personal experience, it's been that the better I know myself, the more comfortable I am with me, and the more defined I am in what my thoughts are about me, my characteristics, my flaws, my, you know, good traits, if you can call them that, or the positive ones, the ones that do work well with others, and the ones that don't so much. The better I know those things, the easier it is to really see and understand other people. And in the bladed mind, verbiage is key. It's super important. It's not just the way that we deliver the information, it's the words that we use. We do our best not to mince our words and to keep it very simple but very clear as to what we want to convey to a student. And in my personal life, I've taken a similar approach in trying to define the words that I use on a regular basis to describe different things. And because of last week's episode, I started really considering, okay, what are the definitions of the words we use on a regular basis? And I found some very interesting ideas that came along with it. For example, the word practice. Now, we've all used it all the time, and I use it. I'm going to go practice, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that, train, study, play. These are the words that I've been sort of focusing on in really defining what they mean and how do they affect me and how I view the things that I do because of it. So practice as a noun is defined in two major ways. The first one is the actual application or use of an idea, belief, or method, as opposed to theories relating to it. So to me, that means, okay, instead of doing a technique, I want to understand why that technique works. And then I take those ideas, the belief that you build or that I built from practicing those ideas, or the methodology in which it was taught to me, for me to explore, okay, what else can I do with these things, with these ideas, with this method, with these concepts? How can I take that and deepen my understanding of my art, so then I can utilize it in other places, not just in the form that it was taught to me. And it dawned on me that that's pretty much the whole basis of the bladed mind, is to get a student to understand for themselves, to combine their own ideas, their own concepts with the ones presented to them in a bladed mind. And Rick is phenomenal at doing this. He can teach one student that's more advanced and a student that's just beginning the same idea, and we each get something completely different. Still profound for that person's level, but it says a lot to understand something so well that you can say a couple simple words and two different people get two completely different ideas. But both are growing because of it. Both are advancing whatever it is they're trying to accomplish for that moment. And because of these queries, I'm now better understanding why Rick is the way he is, and Danny's genius in creating the bladed mind the way that he did. Because the bladed mind was born of Danny, of him understanding how he processes information, how he gets to point A, or from point A to point B, and all the things in between, what's useful and what isn't. And he repeated that process until he came up with the concepts that he taught Rick, that now Rick is teaching me. And now I'm sharing with you my interpretations of the very same ideas. And it may sound different, it may sound more focused, but that's why I gave you that little bit of information of my past, because for me, this is what becomes most important. How well do I understand it here? How well can I convey these ideas? How much do I understand to say, I'm going to do this? Am I really doing that? Am I really adhering to that idea that I decided on? Can those ideas grow and expand and solidify even more? The answer is yes. For me, it definitely can, and that's why I continue these little research projects on the side to get a better understanding for myself, if nothing else. Because at the end of the day, the words that we convey to other people, as much as we want them for that person to understand us, it really is for us, or at least that's my interpretation of it. That's my understanding of it, is that my words, the ones that I'm sharing with you right now, mean a hell of a lot more to me than they would to you, because the receiver is going to understand them how they choose to understand them, or how they know how to understand them. But because I'm saying these words, I'm saying them as confidently as I can, they mean so much more, because in this moment I'm refining my perception of everything around me, of my own thoughts. This is my growth. Now, to move on a little beyond that, there's a second definition to practice, and I found this enlightening as well. The second definition, or major definition, of practice as a noun is the customary, habitual, or expected procedure or way of doing something. Now, for me, this means that something is given to someone, whether it's directly taught or learned through our environment and our experiences, that as human beings, there are many things that we do out of habit because they were taught to us that way, whether it was a visual learning or just because it's the common thing to do. We fall into these habits. I fall into these habits all the time, and I get hurt on the mat because instead of doing what I was instructed to do, I do what I habitually do. And it takes a lot of effort for me to get out of those habits because they become ingrained in me. They become part of how I process things, which is why I like the first definition so much more, because I want to get out of those habits. I want to be able to keep myself from doing something that's going to harm me. If we're talking about martial arts, if we're talking about the training aspect of it, I want to grow as far as I can. But if all I can do is mimic my instructor and not take into consideration the instructions that were given to me, not consider what did that verbiage really mean? Did I comprehend what was being told to me, what was being said? Or am I just taking it as face value and trying to copy what I saw? So in me defining what practice means to me, now I can really remind myself to gear to the understanding, to the methods, to the ideas, far more than what I saw physically or what I am now doing habitually, because I failed to understand those ideas and concepts. Again, this is how my brain works, and these are the things that I think about on a regular basis. Because for me, if I can get it in my mind, if I can understand it up here, then it becomes easier to develop physically. Because then you can direct the habits that you do develop. It's no longer, oh, if something happens, I'm going to stretch out right away, or I'm going to lean into something, or I'm going to reach out to something. Now it's a matter of, oh, I'm going to do what I need to effectively control the situation or regain control of a chaotic situation, which is what a fight is. Other words that I've started to really consider and wonder about is study. Now, study is defined as something having to do with scholastics, a devotion of time and attention to acquiring knowledge on an academic subject, especially by means of books. At one point in time, there were no books. Everything was word of mouth. And what I love about martial arts is that as much as there are books that can supplement how we learn things, it is really that interaction that we have with our instructors. My instructor is giving me information as he was a book. And there are so many great instructors out there that have encyclopedias worth of information that they divulge to their students, that they give to their students willingly. So in a sense, I do believe that I am an academic. I do my best to supplement with books and other things like that. However, the Bladed Mind isn't a traditional martial art, so there really isn't a lot of information written down other than the things that I can get from Rico and Danny. We do have a connection to a pre-existing Filipino martial art that I could study, and in the process of these videos as well as colleague conversations, I've gotten a chance to study scholastically other arts, their history, how they developed, why are they the way that they are now, what were its origins and its roots, and on a subject of martial arts in general. I think we can all find, if we dive deep enough, a commonality between all of them. And for me, if I can connect as many pieces as I possibly can, well, then I'm solidifying my base of understanding. I am creating a stronger structure, so then I can add more on top of it and hopefully reach greater heights, metaphorically speaking, in my personal training and growth. Which brings me to another word that I really had fun researching or considering the definition of, and that is training. Training then has has a lot of definitions depending on the context that you're using, according to the dictionary. But as its two major definition, training is to teach a person or animal a particular skill or type of behavior through practice and instruction over a period of time. And that really got me thinking about the definition of an instructor. As a martial arts instructor, I feel that I'd rather be considered more of a trainer, because all the time that we play, we develop skill sets, we develop practices and behaviors on how to respond to situations, on how to better respond to situations. But again, going back to the idea of practice, It is the mental aspect that allows me to create better behaviors. And not just in the physical realm of the martial arts, but also the character building. My character is better today because of the behaviors that I've learned through these practices, through the training. My mentality is clear because of these ideas and concepts that I am now using outside of the training, outside of the practice in my everyday life, so I can become a better person. Martial arts has become my vehicle to bettering myself, which is why it has become more than just at school, more than just on the mat, more than just during class. It is something that I live. And it's something that I'm going to continue because I want to live as long as I possibly can. And I will supplement as much information as I can possibly take and absorb so I can continue to doing that better every single time. Well, those are the thoughts for this particular week. Thank you very much for joining me again on this Nain Shorts. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, we're done, Rick. 3, 2, 1, cut!